that they don't want to reveal? Like what kinds of things on a high level?
Some of the things are more obvious and are less troublesome because they're so obvious. For example, they'll say, first of all, we have to make sure that whatever the disclosure process is, that it does not alter the present elements of power. He's the most sophisticated of all of them.
I kind of gather that.
So he is the person who is probably the most responsible for trying to choreograph this operation in a way that can become effective. And so he's a person of some really substantial substance that one would want to talk with to determine what he's decided at any given point to reveal.
All right. I want to put a pin in the UFO crash retrieval program within the Pentagon because I do want to come back to that, but I want to stay with this for a second.
Yeah.
Because when you use the words, I believe it was controlled disclosure.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. This is where it gets, you kind of have a philosophical debate going on because what I mean by that, I want to know everything, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a human being. I'd love to know whatever intelligence we have about whatever the hell is out there.
Well, you think you do. You think you want to. That's because you don't know.
I don't know what it could. Right.
You don't know what it is you don't want to know.
Right. But then I'm saying because I don't know that, I say right now I want to know everything.
Sure.
And everyone else out there listening, I'm sure, says something similar.
Yep.
I also recognize, though, that to the point you just made right there, if there are things that are literally provable behind the scenes that like humanity as a whole couldn't handle, which again, this is now intelligence communities making this determination, which is a slippery slope.
Oh yeah, no.
It's I
don't think they're entitled to do that. You're right.
They may not be, but I could then see a scenario where all these guys, everyone you just named, anyone who's associated with the government, who that's been what their job is, they do have a controlled disclosure where they come out and, people could use the word psyop here and it's fair, but that might be a little strong for what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And they basically tell you some things that are true to obfuscate some things that they don't want to tell you about. Now you represent Lou Elizondo, so I understand there's some things you can't say here, attorney-client privilege, but could you see a scenario where that's very real?
Yeah, I don't think that's the right verb, the obfuscate. If I possess 100 units of information about a particular subject and I reveal 85% of them to you, it's not obfuscating. It's just a limited disclosure.
Yes.
When you obfuscate something is when you release the 85% of the information and then you lie about the other 15%.
But isn't that semantics? That's effectively what they'd be doing if they didn't tell us about. If they said, "Wow, look over here at this shiny thing," don't look at that over there. Well, that's kind of lying, no?
Well, one just needs to be careful in this particular area.
Okay.
It's not kind of like lying, sort of. That's dangerous territory. That what's going on here is an extraordinarily sophisticated process, pursuant to which there are people inside the national security state is a bad idea to begin with. Mm-hmm. When you have a national security state, they're locked into a second paradigm worldview, a dialectical worldview that there's good guys and bad guys, and and we're authorized to do really horrible things. I told you about Henry Kissinger, in his introductory lecture every year in Gov 182, about if you don't believe that our country has the right to lie, cheat, steal, and even kill, on behalf of the narrow self-interest of our own nation state versus others, then you shouldn't remain in my course, that kind of thing. Yeah. That mindset in and of itself is intrinsically evil. It sets up an intrinsic dialectic between portions of the human family that is inevitably going to generate conflict. Okay, and the problem is that you have people that are raised inside that culture, in the military and in the intelligence community, et cetera, and they're trained not only to conceal certain information, they're actually trained to actively attempt to deceive others.
Yes.
Okay, and the problem is that they developed those skill sets vis-a-vis some alternative nation states whom they viewed to be adversaries in their quest to establish full spectrum dominance over the planet.
Yeah.
You know, and the problem is that they turn those skills against the American people, and they turn those skills against Congress.
That's right.
And that's unconstitutional for them to engage in that type of activity. In that the creation of the nation state, the national security state in and of itself creates that intrinsic danger. And it's come to manifest itself over the period of the last 79 years or so since they created it. Okay, in 77 years now since December of 1947. Okay, so that's what we're encountering right now is the inevitable repercussions of a national security state. So you have an entire community of people who believe that they're not only entitled to, but they're obliged to somehow actively deceive the American public, and to deceive Congress. This is violative of fundamental premises of our Constitution, and that we have to undo this. We have to undo this in the context of this particular subject, and so that we want to be careful during the process that we're doing this of being clear about what we're accusing people of doing. That the people here that we're talking about with Lou and the rest of the people that are involved in this endeavor to establish a UAP controlled disclosure campaign plan. Mm-hmm. It is clear that they're at one and the same time attempting to reveal some things and intending to have other things not revealed. Okay.
And what do you think what do you think the highlights of those things not revealed are? That they don't want to reveal, like what kinds of things on a high level?
Some of the things are more obvious, and are less troublesome because they're so obvious. For example, they'll say, first of all, we have to make sure that whatever the disclosure process is, that it does not alter the present elements of power on the planet. Well, now you can either agree or disagree with that. Right. I tend to disagree with that. I don't think the elements of power on the planet right now are doing that well.
I agree.
Bringing us to the brink of thermonuclear war. But they would argue that, that's brinkmanship. You get to the edge of nuclear war, and then you end up, getting, you just get to dissolve the Soviet Union. You get to get access to the at least to the major breadbasket areas of the Ukraine, even if you lose the Crimea, the warm water port to Russia. And they engage in this kind of conduct all the time, and they're threatening the potential thermonuclear destruction of the entire planet as the axis on which they apply that particular set of skills. I think that's a really bad idea.
I agree.
I think that our human family ought to step back from that. And then they say, well, it's fine for you to say that because you're not charged with responsibility, these heavy responsibilities we have, they say. And it's what I've discovered in my 50 years of practice is what I've discovered is that there's an awful lot of people inside that national security state who have become so disenchanted with what it is that they've been asked to do in order to effectuate this kind of dialectical confrontation that they are ostensibly engaged in, which was at one time, at least in their own minds, attempting to stop, authoritarian governments from the Soviet Union from taking over the world. But when they in fact found themselves supporting authoritarian governments and torturing people and killing people and assassinating people, et cetera, after a period of time, they began to suspect there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
that they're actually doing the very things that they were taught as young people were the very things you're trying to stop from doing in the world. And so that we've been able to establish communication with some of these people, and they're willing to come forward and say, here, let me share some of the information that you need in order to try to reform the national security state apparatus. Okay?
Yes.
That my opinion is the national security state apparatus has to be more than reformed. It has to be overcome. It has to be dissolved. You know, it has to be dissolved in the Soviet Union. It has to be dissolved in China. It has to be dissolved.
How realistic is that, though, Danny?
Well, how realistic is destruction of the whole planet? It's not a really good idea.
I think that's more. Unfortunately, I think that's more realistic than getting all these prisoner dilemma stuck countries, espionage units back, reined in.
Well, I think that that's the challenge that we have, and I think that one of the dynamics that has to play into this is increasing the level of consciousness of the people, okay, and exercising some of the powers that we still have in a democracy, okay. That the avenues are there for us to do this. You know, it's an extraordinarily difficult challenge. I'll agree to that. But we have to know what our ultimate mission is. Our ultimate mission is to dissolve away the structural sources of injustice, inside both Western and Eastern civilizations right now, because the elite that have risen into power in both hemispheres are threatening thermonuclear destruction of the planet.
Yeah.
Okay, they're engaging in the maintenance of control over the petroleum industry and polluting the planet and polluting the oceans and threatening the life generating capacity of our planet. Okay, they are on the very brink of actually instigating a potential intervention on the part of an extraterrestrial civilization in order to preserve the life-generating capacity of our planet. That's what's happening right now, and that's what's panicking them. So all of a sudden they've come forward saying, wait a second, that we think that we're on the brink of some potential intervention here, and if they intervene in an aggressive enough way to shut off our nuclear weapons capacities in both East and West, that's going to reveal their presence. And we aren't ready yet. We haven't really taken the steps that are necessary to prepare our people for the intervention of an extraterrestrial civilization like this. And so you see this thing happening right now, kind of this mysterious process going on of some element inside the national security state coming forward, with the either pretense
Yes.
or at least posture of being good guys all of a sudden.
That's right.
Of that they've seen the light. And that they think, I'm really feeling bad about, how secretive we've been.
Let's
and
tell everyone.
The excesses, and so, but let's make it clear. We're not here talking about revealing everything. We're talking about revealing some things. And there's some other things that we just really can't reveal, but we can't tell you what those are. Under any circumstance, we can't tell you what they are. But one of the things that they'll lead right with is, of course, whatever the changes are that are going to be flowing from disclosure, we can't have them alter the elements of power on the planet right now. That's number one. Okay, that would be, in their view, catastrophic.
Yes.
Primarily because they view themselves as being assigned responsibility for keeping those people in power.
Right.
That's how they view their military covert mission. Okay.
They want to sustain what they have.
That's right. And so there are other things that that one's an obvious one, right?
Of course.
Then they have others like that. Well, there may be some things that have been done on behalf of maintaining the secrets down through the decades. They may have engaged in untoward activity toward private citizens.
They would never do that, Danny.
And that would be catastrophic to reveal some of that, because if you revealed that, then the confidence of the people in that elite would be diminished.
But doesn't it matter like when it was too? Like eventually things like MK Ultra got revealed in some ways, but it was after the fact. So it's like,
but for example, you don't know that in MK Ultra, the two major guys that were protecting the kind of death of people that occurred were Warren Burger, who became the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, and Jacob Javits, who became the United States Senator of the state of New York.
Yeah.
You don't know any of that stuff. Right? And they say, well, you can't reveal that stuff because that would really undermine people's blind confidence in the elite. So you can't do that. So see, they have. That's why the people that are the guardians of the national security state are not the right people to be making these decisions, because they are so wedded to the blind allegiance to the kind of elite that are in charge of the planet right now, in that they're used to the brinkmanship of threatening thermonuclear destruction of the entire planet on behalf of maintaining their continued privileged access to the strategic raw materials, that they view that to be a legitimate mission. So that they really can't be the ones that are making these decisions. All of that will come down to who the people are that are going to be on this 9-person commission. Right, this panel, the board of review
this sets out.
Now, they clearly are intending to have those 9 people be people made up of the exact same elements that have kept it secret for
like a
all this
Warren
time.
Commission.
Yeah, that's right. And you can't let that happen. And so that what we have to do as citizens, we have to be able to develop a strong enough citizen base of educated people who know how to put pressure on their congressional representatives and senators, et cetera, to be able to make sure that the people that end up getting appointed to that particular commission, are people who are not dedicated to the same kind of preservations that they're talking about. They're not dedicated to maintaining all the elements of power in the exact same position they are now. They're not dedicated to keeping secret whatever some of the excesses are that some people have gone to protect the secrets, et cetera. And if you can get them to start listing the kind of things they think are catastrophic, then what you have to do is you have to say, well, the people that are going to be on this board, cannot be devoted to protecting that kind of information.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.